inmates. It is expected by the end of the decade the number will be 360,000 according to the report. And this is what the problem is. Privatized prisons have a vested interest in expanding the system, making it bigger, bigger, and bigger, because that means they get more and more profits, which means the society now is at risk of people being put into a prison system, not trained, not rehabilitated, and going back into society worse than they went in.
Absolutely, and we're paying for it.
And we're going to pay through the nose for it.
We're paying it through the nose to have them turn out animals that come out into the street and seriously hurt people, and we don't seem to get it. We don't seem to be understanding what is happening.
Well, the problem is that the lobbyists for the prison industry are corrupting the system.
Exactly.
They're buying off senators.
They're buying everybody off.
They're literally buying these clowns off.
Right.
And they're putting in laws that are severe to enhance the prison population.
To make it longer so they make more money.
The more people they can get to go to jail, the more money they can make.
That's exactly.
And this process has to stop.
Right.
And there's a section in here where we had on the criticisms.
Right.
Many organizations have called for a moratorium on construction of private prisons, or their outright abolition.
Abolition.
The Religion Dominations, Presbyterian Church USA, the United Methodist Church
right.
have also joined the call, as well
right.
as the Catholic Bishops of South Organization. Right. Proponents of privately run prisons contend that the cost savings and efficiency of operation place private prisons in an advantage over public prisons, and support the argument of privatization. But some research casts doubt on the validity of these arguments, as evidence has shown that private prisons are neither demonstrably more cost-effective or more efficient than public prisons. See, under public prisons, like in Massachusetts, there's a statute mandating the Department of Corrections rehabilitate prisoners.
Right.
There is no such mandate on private prisons.
No, there's not.
They have no requirements to rehabilitate. They're only getting paid to hold.
Right, exactly right.
The food is terrible. The medical is terrible. The guy's going to come out of jail more bitter than when he went into jail.
Exactly.
And that's going to be reflected on society. The concept of prisons has to be designed around the principle of taking an individual, rehabilitating them, bringing them back into the community as a law-abiding, productive citizen.
Right, exactly right.
Not worse than he went in.
Yeah, well, they don't have that mandate. And as you were talking about, there's an evaluation of 24 different studies on cost effectiveness reveals that, at best, results of the questions are inconclusive, and at worst, there is no difference in cost effectiveness. And you can talk, a study by the U.S. Bureau of Justice Statistics found that the cost savings promised by private prisons have simply not materialized. You know?
It's all a scam.
It's a scam. And I mean, this is a bait and switch scam. This is so out there, okay? It's a fraud. I mean, they're committing fraud to the taxpayers in the United States, not only in Connecticut, all over the United States. This is what they're promising, that they're going to do the job for the taxpayer, and they're not doing the job, and what they're sending back they're vicious individuals that have been abused under their systems. They've got people that they're not taking care of. They've had all kinds of charges of abuse against the private prisons.
This is outrageous, what's happening and what's going on. And people have got to get up and start complaining and saying, listen, granted the guy committed a crime, but I want him coming back to my community better than he went in, not worse.
I love this. The study was done in 2001. A study concluded that a pattern of sending less expensive inmates to privately run facilities artificially inflated the cost savings. A 2005 study found that Arizona's public facilities were 7 times more likely to house violent offenders, 3 times more likely to house those convicted of more serious offenses. So what they were doing was they were comparing, comparing individuals who are seriously nonviolent, light offenders, drunk drivers, stuff like that, against violent prisoners that required all kinds of security and staff, and saying, look, we're saving you money. Well, they were comparing apples and oranges.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and there is no comparison.
Well, what you're talking about is you're taking somebody that shouldn't have been in jail in the first place.
Absolutely, should be out in the street.
There's one little piece in here that is quite interesting. I had just been looking at it as you were talking, and this kind of hits right to the core of it. Jailing persons convicted of nonviolent crimes and long sentences for possession of microscopic quantities of illegal drugs.
Right.
Federal law stipulates 5 years imprisonment without possibility of parole for possession of 5 grams of crack or 3.5 ounces of heroin, and 10 years possession of less than 2 ounces of raw cocaine or crack. A sentence of 5 years for cocaine. I mean, this is the insanity. Is they pushed the 3 strikes laws and whatnot.
Oh, yeah.
And the whole thing was to enhance the amount of prisoners.
Right.
That gets the profit, and these privatized prisons are putting out all these lies. It's outrageous that they can get up and say this. They were talking initially about people that didn't belong in jail.
None of them belong in there, and
then
they
once they
frighten
get to
society.
Go, they buy the 2 prisons
Right.
from the state, and we're talking maximum security prisoners.
Yeah.
And now they're not training the guards. Why? Because it costs too much money to train them.
Well, this is
And
what...
they're not paying them.
No, this is the study that the evidence suggests that lower staff levels and training at private facilities may lead to increased incidents of violence and escape. A nationwide study found that assaults on guards by inmates were 49% more frequent in private prisons than in government-run prisons because they weren't untrained. The same study revealed that assaults on fellow inmates was 65% more frequent in private prisons than they are in state-run facilities where the people are trained and stuff like that.
Because they don't know what they're doing.
They don't know what.
Trained.
No, they're not. And not only they're not trained, their income, their wage earning is extremely low. They put these prisons in places where they can grab people who are not the best educated, who are very low skill level, so that they can give them minimum wage or just a little bit above a minimum wage.
Well, here, let's look at this. Let's look at this facet of it. We're talking about slavery.
Yeah.
According to the Left Business Observer, the federal prison industries produces 100% of all military helmets, ammunition belts, bulletproof vests, ID tags, shirts, pants, tents, bags, and canteens, along with war supplies. Prison workers supply 98% of the entire market of equipment assembling services, 93% of paints and paintbrushes, 92% of stove assembly, 46% of body armor, 36% of home appliances, 30% of headphones and microphone speakers, and 21% of off. This is the marketplace that should be in the street, not in the prison.
Not in the prison. No.
And to keep this marketplace going in the prison, you need more prisoners. Exactly. And this is the fruit of the problem that we want to get to is, listen, we got to stop putting the industry inside the prison, put the industry out in the street.
Yeah, well,
give the people on the street these jobs.
That's right, jobs. We're talking jobs.
Rehabilitate the prisoner. Don't give him a job in the prison. He's getting 25 cents a day.
Right.
Rehabilitate him, get him back in the street, give him the job out in the street.
There you go. That's where he needs to
Stop
be.
filling the prisons, and we're paying through the nose for this.
No, we're keeping a system of slavery going that we've been doing for years and years, and talking about.
Well, as we showed that,
and you did it with the statement. Slavery exists in the prison. Okay, it's not done away with. Okay,
if you're going to get rid of slavery, this is what you have to do.
You've got to change it.
You have to take out the accept clause. so that it would
Even
now
can't see
read,
that.
neither slavery nor involuntary servitude shall
Right.
exist within the United
United
States or any
States.
place subject to
Right.
their jurisdiction.